Over the course of 11 years, the New London Talent Show has provided a stage for hundreds of local youth to flourish. The two men most responsible for shepherding the show and its cast of performers, coaches, and volunteers originally came together via unlikely paths.
Let's try that from the beginning.
8 years ago was a scary time for me. I was not this guy.
Curtis Goodwin, speaking in 2018 for the day's documentary Those People, recalled the genesis of the show at a turbulent time in his life 8 years earlier.
8 years ago, I was super lost, super depressed, and just trying to find my way. It's hard to even talk about that. Every time I get overwhelmed when I think about who I was 8 years ago, because I was the class president, I was the drum major, I won homecoming king every year in high school, like literally every single year I won homecoming prince or king. I was that guy, most likely to succeed, voted. And I went to college, things were great, and then I just hit a depressing point where I guess now looking back, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been for the bigger world. I left college with a 3.9 GPA.
Yeah, you guys are over there.
I just left, came back here.
Goodwin dropped out of college and moved back home to New London around the time the city was holding meetings to discuss how to react to the downtown murder of a young man named Matthew Chu by 6 teenagers.
My mom actually told me about this meeting because she knew she wanted me to get into something again, try to find a spark that would bring me back to who I was or who I should be. And I came, and I was in here, and it was overwhelming because it reminded me of who I didn't want to be. It was exactly the spark I needed. I didn't come there to say a word, I just came. My mom said come, so I said I'll go sit and I'll just listen.
Goodwin came away from that meeting motivated to make a positive change in his community.
I came here looking to change that narrative where we could focus on how did we let those teens down, forget that they were bored, forget that they were black. They were kids. I honestly feel it takes a village. They were teenagers. Where did we intervene so that these kids were not bored?
Let's talk about the things we could do to better our people.
Frank Colmenares, a contemporary of Goodwin's, also attended the Oasis Room meeting, as well as an earlier one at City Hall. It was at the Oasis Room that Colmenares stood up and proposed what would become the New London Talent Show.
Growing up, there was a talent show at New London High School that Curtis had. He was running. Curtis threw this huge talent show. And I remember going, I actually missed auditions. I was too late to audition, so I couldn't be a part of the talent show. But actually, not only did I miss auditions, but I missed getting in the line early enough to attend the show because it was sold out. I mean, so I watched it from the public access channel, and I seen my peers up there, and to me, it was just crazy how that stage, watching them from the TV in my house on the public access channel, that my peers automatically looked like superstars to me, right? And so I'm watching them on TV, and I wanted to be a part of that. So just fast forward to when I stand up and say, hey, this would be a great place for a talent show. The first person I called, after I left the building, it was somebody to find Curtis Goodwin's number to say, hey, yo, I had this idea, to throw this talent show. And I remember, many years ago, no grudges held, but I couldn't be in your show because I was too late and I couldn't get in either. But we could let bygones be bygones. If you come, help me, do what you did then now.
Frank was not the typical person I would associate myself with, not even close.
Why?
He was the type of showboaty type of person where me, and that rapper whole vibe that he does, that whole persona. And I just don't have the patience for it. And, in school, he would have been the class clown, and here I am the class president. They don't mix. And I actually had him as those people, and I didn't want to work with him, to be honest. I just felt he was immature, and I didn't want to associate myself with that. So he does reach out to me, and somehow I say yes.
Goodwin may not have realized it at the time, but Colmenares may have been a perfect, though unlikely, partner to start an artistic mentoring program for city youth.
Early in my life, I started making music because I was trying to be like my brother. This brother that I wanted to be like, still love greatly. He ended up, in and out of jail throughout high school. And he, beyond that, he ended up getting a sentence to 10 years. Tough times, for your superhero kind of to lose the cape. When I'm looking up to this guy that is influencing me and inspiring me and I want to be like, to end up a place where I would never want to be. And to watch the pain that my mother went through because of that, I feel like he didn't have some of the beautiful opportunities, you know, to keep him along the right lines and around the right mentors and around the right things that could have kept him more engaged than being out running the streets with his friends and getting involved in, you know, drugs and, you know, crime and stuff like that. Missing my brother so much. I have a little brother and sister. I kind of always wanted to be what I felt that I wished my brother was to me, to them. Around that time, when my brother, you know, was first incarcerated, I had got suspended for a rap that I wrote in school. I went to Isaac Middle School growing up, and I got suspended for a rap that I wrote. So what was it? You know what's crazy is I don't remember it, but like my principal at the time, she had read it back to me. It was a battle rap that I wrote, and it was a little vulgar. There was guns and stuff in it, and people were shot in these raps.
Go ahead and talk, dog. You be the person to chalk for. The chalk floor's full of chalkboard and chalkboards.
So, you know, in our culture, like battle raps are vulgar. You kill the person more than he kills you, and you do it more clever. So they had found, I had tried to print this rap out on the school computers, and the computers were jammed, so I'm printing. It doesn't print, it's jammed. And finally, right before the bell rings to go home, one comes out. Got it, go home. My battle rap, I'm reading it to all my friends, whatever. I come back, and I guess the other raps must have printed out, the other 37 that I clicked print for. So, so I come back, they call me down to the office, and you know, I had no clue I was there because I didn't do anything, but it wasn't like odd to me because I was often in trouble, you know, the class clown, whatever. So I thought I must have done something the day before in class. So she puts this rap that I had wrote on the table and slides it in front of me. So I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, let me find out she thinks it's dope. Like, I mean, I had some lines in there, you know, being acknowledged for my rap. And she tells me she had called my father and that they were suspending me for 10 days and that I would have to go through an expulsion hearing, and that because of the content of this rap that I had wrote, that they were suggesting that I should go to counseling, that I might be like crazy or something.
Instead of giving him a negative consequence, the school found a positive outcome for Colmenares.
They actually found a lady who was a nationally ranked poet and to come in and help channel my writing.
That mentoring relationship with Clarissa Bea Taylor turned into Writer's Block, Inc., a writing and performing program for local youth.
So every Tuesday and Thursday, I would meet up in a room with this lady, and I would write my rhymes and I would read them to her. I could bring friends, and she would read me poems of hers, and then she would bring friends. And before you know it, we had a room full of friends that were like lyrical and talented and gifted. That's a program that's still going on to this day, and I think that was a real transformation when I started working with those kids too. And it kind of carried over to, you know, what it is we're doing now.
When I say Frank, y'all say Grams. Frank.
You know, I had like this odd sense of connection, like to the kids because of, you know, what I would believe to be because of, you know, my situation with my brother, and then how I wanted to be like this superhero of a brother to my little sister and my little brother.
While they've worked together to have a positive impact on the lives of local youth, both Goodwin and Colmenares say that the experience has changed their own lives.
That was a huge turning point. To be honest, I was homeless then. When I did the show the first year, I was literally living out in my car. Nolan probably would remember knocking on my window. Like, it was a really tough time. And that whole year of doing it, I lived in my SUV. No one knew. I wore a fresh white t-shirt every practice, every rehearsal, because at the time, that's what I could afford.
We expose each other to different things and to different cultures, and then we grow together and we learn more and we mentor each other and we help one another. That's what it's really all about, you know, and that's what I aspire to be to the youth in my city. When they real people or my peers, when they reach out to me and they say, hey, yo, Frank, I have this idea. What do you think? And I'm always willing, the same way Curtis was, you know, for me, to assist and lend a helping hand.
When you volunteer or when you give your time, it comes back to you. People don't realize, they think, oh, volunteering, why should I do that? I don't have enough time. You always have time to volunteer. Me doing that show immediately after, I got a phone call from Big Brothers Big Sisters asking me to be an assistant director. Immediately, employed. He brought the papers that next day to me. He found me at a meeting and brought the papers and said, sign here. I went from $0 an hour to 20-something an hour from doing the show, literally that next day. Huge turning point.